In Luke chapter 14, we see Jesus coming to the home of one of the rulers of the Pharisees to eat food on the Sabbath. And it strikes me as very interesting. Jesus accepts these invitations. Jesus has already confronted the Pharisees with a number of woes that he's pronounced upon them for their hypocrisy. And nevertheless, they keep inviting him to dinner. But the Scripture gives us a clue as to the motives of their invitation. It says that they invited him, but it was that they might watch him closely. Imagine what that must have been like for Jesus coming into this stifling atmosphere, knowing that the invitation wasn't really sincere. I'm just amazed at the humility, the goodness, the kindness of Jesus. Even he takes opportunity to heal a man who's present there and to teach the people about the heart of God. What I'm also impressed with is that Jesus, in starting the church, the New Testament church, he died for the church. And yet here, prior to the cross, he is not withdrawing himself from society, but he's very much participating in it. However, he does so without compromise. He never compromises his message. He never does anything for vainglory or to impress people, and he never holds back because he's afraid that what he does might offend somebody. He always speaks the truth in love. Jesus came into this home. It's a meal on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is a day of rest. It's a day of worship. It's a day to honor God. And Jesus asks, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? Because there's a man there who's sick. He's in a very serious condition. And they don't say a word. Now, we don't know whether this was a setup or whether this was somebody who was uninvited who came in. These meals were semi-public, so that's possible. But we really don't know the background of why this sick man is there. However, they don't say anything because they can't. When we think in our own context about what motivates us, how we are to be worshipers, what is true worship? Is worship just a religious formality, something we observe ritualistically? Not at all. The whole point of the Sabbath, the whole point of worship, is that we are to draw near to God, to know His heart, and ultimately to become like Him. Here these Pharisees were observing the Sabbath religiously, but a person was present there who was very sick and in need of healing, and yet they were not willing that he should be healed on the Sabbath. I wonder in our context whether there are times where we are so busy in observing our religious rituals that we miss the real point, we miss the real heart of worship. James 1 verse 27 says that pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their trouble and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. What I see is two things. One is the compassion of God, the other is the holiness of God. If we have one without the other, then it's really incomplete worship. It's not true religion. Real worship, a real relationship with God, is both. Compassion without holiness becomes humanism, but holiness without compassion becomes legalism. Jesus chided the Pharisees for caring more about their animals than they did human beings. He said in Luke 14, verse 5, "Which of you, having a donkey or an ox that has fallen into a pit, will not immediately pull him out on the Sabbath day?" In our religious worship and our religious formalities, let's keep in mind the real heart of worship, and that is that as we worship God, we are to become like Him, and God is compassionate.